Dear friends, in the last few days I have received a lot of requests regarding a sensational discovery in Egypt. Is it legit? Namely, Italian experts in programming and geophysics, Filipo and Corrado had a press conference, international press conference, on March 15th and March 16th, 2025. With them, it was Armando May as well. And they announced discovery of several chambers within the Great Pyramid of Egypt, a huge underground structure under Kafre pyramid, up to 648 meters below the ground, and potential hole of Amenti 2 kilometers below the Giza plateau. If any of this element is found to be true, that would be a sensational discovery indeed. Back in 2020, Filipo and Corrado wrote a scientific article and sent it to the peer review magazine. 2 years later, in 2022, it was published. In 2025, they finally announced the big news at the press conference. Adding a couple more years of the research, basically we can see that it took them 7 years to come to the point that everybody in scientific world, especially those in the pyramid science, know about them. With them it was Armando May. Those who follow my work would know that 18 years ago Armando wrote a book about the Bosnian Pyramids, about its astronomical and spiritual features, and I wrote a big introduction article in that book. Filipo and Corrado are also very known to me. I had a big conversation, long conversation, a couple of hours, a year ago, and they presented me the preliminary results of their study of the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. During the conversation, I found out that they discovered one more pyramid in the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, a huge unnamed structure, and number 3, a tunnel that connects the Bosnian Pyramids of the Sun and Pyramid of Love. Since I know a little bit about the Bosnian Pyramids, when analyzing the first discovery of the pyramids, well, since I was on the top of the one pyramid, I won't mention which one, and then during the summer solstice, sun rising, the shadow would start from the exact location where they discovered the pyramid. Of course, it is covered by soil and vegetation, and that's the reason why is it not so obvious. Secondly, the tunnel between the two pyramids, well, I know that there is a tunnel between the Love and the Sun pyramid. Since it is on private property, we just started excavation, we realized that there is an artificial structure, and then we stopped. And number 3, huge unnamed structure. When you take a topographic map, you see the feature, you see the geometry and the shape. It's very obvious that it is a regular geometry, that under the layers of soil there is indeed an artificial structure. So based on that experience, I know that these people are legitimate. One of them works at the University in Scotland, another one University of Pisa in Italy. Programming and geophysics. Now, what did we hear from them? On this 3D model of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, which for some reason people call the Cheops or Khufu Pyramid, even though this pharaoh of the 4th dynasty has nothing to do with its construction. So, this 3D model, we can see some additional structure, chambers, and holes in the Great Pyramid of Egypt. When you discover something like that in the best known structure in the world, of course, it is a sensation. We base this on this here. Secondly, under the second largest pyramid, which is called for some reason Kafre or Kafre, a ruler also from the 4th dynasty, son or brother of the pharaoh Khufu. They're talking about those 8 columns with descending stairs. They go down up to 648 meters. Very exciting. And not only that, they end up at the top of huge boxes, chambers or halls, 80 meters by 80 meters. And that's not all. 2 kilometers below the Giza plateau, there is a huge network. Tunnels, passageways, maybe structures, and that's the reason why it is mentioned that it is probably the legendary hall of Amenti, where the god or demigod or king Thoth, who is presumed to be the real builder and designer of those superior pyramids, actually entered and with the knowledge got immortality. And it was a base for some artists to go even a step further, claiming that the pyramids above the ground are actually just the tips of the iceberg. That's how big are those structures. Now, this is all very, very exciting and for sure sensational. What was the method they used? It is called SAR, Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography. SAR Tomography. Tomography is something that has been used. Radar, georadar technology also. You have those long antennas, sometimes 6 meters. The longer the antenna, the clearer the image of what is under the ground. But the novelty is, instead of the radar, what they used was a satellite with the rays. So those rays were actually used as the antenna, and because of their length, the picture should be much clearer than with the regular radar antenna. So, let's analyze some of their results. First of all, I have to say, in order to do that, you have to be geophysicist, and number 2, very experienced geophysicist. I'm not geophysicist and I'm not experienced geophysicist. So everything you hear from me, you have to be careful. I do have some experience because in the last 20 years we had a number of teams from Germany, from Institute for Geophysics from Belgrade, from Czech Republic, from Slovakia, from Italy, who are doing georadar, then tomography, and some other methods. The first illustration shows the Great Pyramid of Egypt, or to be more precise, the King's Chamber with relief. It is top left. Top right is the tomographic illustration of the same area. And here, when we put one over each other, we can try to figure out if this technology is so precise. In general, if you have this dark blue color, it's a compact structure, no anomalies. If it is light blue, anomalies. Also, this brownish golden color, we have potential anomalies as well. So once superimposed, we can see that there are some ideas about the potential anomaly, but it is not very, very clear. The bottom left is so-called Queen's Chamber. Of course, we don't have kings or queens. However, the queen chamber is here. This is the passageway that leads to the queen's chamber. This is another one, the gallery that goes towards the king's chamber. Now, as we can see here, light blue and the golden color indicates that we do have anomalies. So here I would say the match is better than over here. The next thing, king's chamber with the structure above it. In 5 rows, we have those blocks. Very impressive, even though the public cannot access it. So here's the SAR Tomography, which almost perfectly match the structure inside the pyramid. So here the match is 80–90%. The next one, again, unfinished structure, king's and queen's chamber, the gallery. Now, on the tomography, we cannot be very satisfied. Passageway is here instead of this angle. It's very hard to find the gallery or some of the chambers inside the pyramid. So we can see this is a very good as an idea what might be in there. Not 100% sure. That's why it is important to view the pyramid or any other structure from different angles, different heights, and do it many times. And then we're going to get, pretty much what we have inside the structure. Again, 3D model with some of potentially new chambers. Unfortunately, the gallery is missing here. Gallery that's existing, so we can see that the tomography really does not match perfectly what we know that exists. So, this is a suggestion of Filipo and Corrado about new discoveries within the Great Pyramid of Egypt. What we know so far, the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, unfinished chamber. We have, of course, the gallery. What they were saying, we have a huge hall here, chambers that's been unknown. Of course, such an immense structure like the Great Pyramid of Egypt would have not a couple of more chambers, maybe many more. So, theoretically speaking, they must be right. But is the location exactly here? Well, that's the question. We need to use different technologies. Now, we do know that the Japanese experts use the Muon technology, showing potential huge hollow space just above the Grand Gallery. But when we look the distance from the Grand Gallery on their illustration and compare it with the Filipo and Corrado, it should be here. Instead, it is much further away. And that's the problem with this technology. Simply, it is not perfect. You have to have great experience to figure out that there is something there. But like I said, you need to use different technologies, different scientific methodology, and you need to do it over and over again to get a good idea of anomalies. The next thing, which is probably the most exciting, are the potential 8 cylindrical columns that are located under the second largest pyramid, Kafre or Kafre pyramid. And based on this tomographical illustration, they made what they see as potential structures. 2 parallel rows with the 8 columns, and they go 648 meters below the second largest pyramid, with the descending stairs, as they think. For some people, however, this was a proof that this was actually part of the energy machines. As we know, the Bosnian Pyramids are huge and the number one proof that pyramids are actually energy amplifiers. Teams of physicists and engineers in the last 2 decades have proven by measuring that pyramid amplifies existing underground natural sources of energy. We've been measuring using scientific instruments from the base to the top of the pyramid. Energy was getting stronger and stronger. And then from the top, of course, we have energy beam, 28 kilohertz frequency, electrical in nature, ultrasound in nature, scalar waves or non-Hertzian waves. In the case of Egyptian pyramids, I suspect it's something very similar. Is this accurate? For me, hard to say. Is there a structure under the Kafre and really under the Giza pyramids? For sure. You can see on a couple of places at the Giza plateau that there are shafts, like underground tunnels at 90 degrees going straight down. Is this the case? Hard to say for me. Do we have those huge boxes that are hollow, empty inside? It is very possible. Is it possible that somebody in distant past making those hollow spaces underground structure 650 meters below the ground? Well, if yes, then it had to be far superior civilization than ours. And this is not all. What they claim also is that under the 3 pyramids at the Giza plateau, there is a huge network of underground passageways, chambers, structures. And many people started arguing that the famous, legendary Hall of Amenti has been discovered. Is it possible? Hard to say, but I incline more in the direction that this is a huge network of underground tunnels and passageways, because they always follow the pyramids. Under the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids, which is the best documented case, we have network of those tunnels on several different levels. So far we have cleared 3.5 kilometers, and I suspect 100 kilometers originally at 7 different levels. In Egypt we have something similar, just much deeper. Do we have a similar case in Bosnia? Well, according to the georadars that we were using, the deepest tunnel is at 100 meters. Is it possible to find something like this? I would say we have to stay open. So, in conclusion, I think this is something that has opened very important research in the case of Egyptian pyramids that should encourage pyramid researchers around the world, in China, in Peru, in Bolivia, Indonesia, Cambodia, Central America, Canary Islands, Easter Islands, and so on, and try to figure out who really built those structures, when they were built, how they were built, and what was the real purpose of those structures. Once we answer those questions, we will realize that much of the ancient knowledge can be applied in our civilization as well.